Why is Sisisi Tolashe still a minister in our government? When will this clearly compromised individual be shown the door? What does she have on the president and the ANC that she seems untouchable? I know I asked this question a lot on this platform. I've asked it about almost a quarter of our cabinet. But she seems to be a classic Teflon politician. Nothing sticks. She employed an underqualified individual as her chief of staff. The president did nothing. She has now admitted to receiving a questionable gift from the government of China. No action. So what does it take in South Africa for someone to be considered unfit to hold office? Hello everyone, welcome back to Joe Talks Politics. I am your host, Joseph Musia. Let's get right into it. So Minister Tolashe has apparently admitted to receiving 2 vehicles from the Chinese government on behalf of the ANC Women's League. That is already shady. But when asked, the Women's League said they knew nothing about the gift. It turns out her children were the ones using the SUVs, and that is not a made-up story. That is what she said. And the reason for that? She did not register the cars in the name of the Women's League, she says, to avoid them being attached by creditors who are always knocking at their door for unpaid bills. But Minister, concealing assets from creditors is a crime in South Africa. You can't do that. It is a criminal offense. If you hide assets to dodge your creditors, you are not being clever. You are committing a crime under the Insolvency Act. The law is explicit. You don't get to stash property, move money around, or forget to disclose what you own when the bills come due. Do that and you are staring down criminal charges, real jail time, and fines that can bite really hard. And if there's any deception involved, it escalates fast into full-blown fraud with even heavier consequences. On top of that, the courts can claw back whatever you try to hide and shut you out of positions of financial trust. In short, you don't outsmart the system. You add prison to your problems. The same goes for Minister in the Presidency, Maropene Ramokgopa. Media reports indicate that the cars she received were used by her elderly mother and other associates who are not connected to the Women's League. While she has denied wrongdoing, unlike Tolashe, she has not explained why the League has not received the vehicles. This story is much more serious than the authorities are treating it. If it is true, and the 2 individuals involved are not denying it, it also amounts to foreign interference in our domestic politics. I would go so far as to say it appears intended to influence the outcome of the 2024 elections. Going into that election, the ANC was in a dire financial situation. The Women's League was slightly worse than that. The party was tens of millions of rand in debt, including unpaid salaries, unpaid suppliers, and legal costs. There were reports of its headquarters, Luthuli House, facing service disruptions and operational strain. Staff salary delays became recurring, with some employees going months without full pay. So 5 vehicles were an invaluable addition to the party's electioneering machinery. But when the donor is a foreign government, it raises a slew of questions about our national sovereignty. More than that, it potentially places the conduct in direct conflict with South African law. The Political Party Funding Act explicitly prohibits donations to political parties from foreign governments and foreign state-owned entities. In addition, the Electoral Act and related IEC regulations require transparency in campaign resources and prohibit undue or undisclosed influence over electoral processes. If assets of this scale were not properly declared, that raises further compliance issues. Indeed, there has not been an explicit statement that the cars were intended to help with the elections. But the timing of the donation leaves one with no other conclusion. However, this situation could even be worse. The story that the vehicles were intended for the Women's League came from the two ministers involved. It is still possible that these vehicles were donated to them individually as a way of buying influence. Both were senior officials of the Women's League, with Tolashe as president and Ramokgopa as the national coordinator of the Women's League task team. It does not matter how one looks at this matter. There is no obvious scenario where it becomes acceptable. Let us look at the conduct of the two individuals as leaders of the ANC. That party has become synonymous with corruption and ineptitude. When he took over from Jacob Zuma as ANC president in 2018, Ramaphosa came in on a platform of renewal and anti-corruption.
We must be forthright about one of the great weaknesses where we have fallen short, and that is with regard to corruption. All South Africans suffer from corruption when goods and services and resources meant for public benefit are misappropriated, they are mismanaged, they are stolen, and when that happens, it is the poor who suffer the most. Corruption carries a huge opportunity cost, but it imposes a huge burden on the lives of our people. Economic growth is stifled and businesses suffer. Development stalls and institutions across the board, both in the public sector and in the private sector, also fail. Corruption has wounded our democracy in a number of ways and has also shaken our people's faith in our institutions. If corruption is not curbed, arrested, or stopped, the greatest damage will not be in the funds that are stolen, and funds are stolen, or the jobs that are lost. It will be in damaging our democracy. It will be in making our people have less confidence and have less trust in our democracy. It is therefore our shared responsibility as we celebrate 30 years of democracy to build a society in which corruption is minimized or eliminated, in fact, has no place at all.
His failure to act against those in his party who have clearly acted illegally or unethically calls into question his and the ANC's commitment to clean governance and renewal. It is one thing to avoid acting hastily and quite another to avoid making difficult decisions. Add to that the cloud hanging over his own head because of the Phala Phala scandal.
The only way Phala Phala will die is only if they allow the recommendation of the Parliament panel that said there is a prima facie evidence that there is a case of impeachment for the President and therefore the impeachment processes must kick in, and the president must go and answer for those questions that the panel found.
This new scandal exposes not just questionable conduct by individual ministers, but a deeper problem: a governing party and president who either cannot or will not enforce accountability, even in the face of serious legal and ethical breaches. Is Ramaphosa compromised and therefore unable to hold those under his supervision accountable? Please share your views in the comment section. If you enjoyed this episode, please share and like it. If you are not yet a subscriber, please consider doing so. That's all from me, Joseph Musia. See you in the next episode.